The purpose of this conference is to create a space for dialogue, a space for the encounter of the two great faiths.
Two men have walked down my street for 23 years and have never spoken. One comes from India and one from Pakistan. They walk on opposite sides of the street and go to the same paper shop as I do. I go down the middle of the street and they both give me a bad earache by telling me about Kashmir, for which a Labour government was responsible in 1948 before I was born. So they're walking down separate ways to the street. Last year, I saw them coming up the street together, these two men, one with an arm round the other. It was dark, it was in the evening, it was late in December. And I leapt into the middle of the street and I said, "You two, what's going on? Has there been an act of God into marriage? Why are you two with your arms round each other?" And one man said to me, he said, "John," he said, "I was watching television because of the terrible earthquake. You remember the earthquake in Pakistan, Kashmir?" And he said, "I saw on the television a truck from India taking blankets and tents into Kashmir. So we have decided to call the war off in our street because this is where we now live and this is where we're actually likely to die."
When I first met Chris, I said, "Chris, there's a lot of good people in our community. Unfortunately, they're sitting on their butts, but they're not doing anything. We want to create some subliminal images that people can talk to each other, people can be seen together. How about you take a walk with me, your dog collar and my headscarf, down Wally Range, the most segregated place on the planet, which is, of course, Blackburn." Are you recording that? Good. Chris and I walked on a serious tone that day, from one end of the street to the other, and we were surprised how people looked, observed, and said, "Are you new?" I said, "Don't be ridiculous, I've lived here for a long time." They couldn't understand, and this is how our work started.
No peace among the nations without peace among the religions. No peace among the religions without dialogue between the religions. No dialogue between the religions without investigation of the foundation of the religions. Exactly picking up John Battle's points, which is that we've become stronger in our own faith through this dialogue process.
Of what is the purpose of dialogue? Why are we doing this? Why are we here now? And if we're not going to actually progress this further, then haven't we just wasted a great deal of money and 24 hours of our time by being here?
We have to discuss the mechanism of agreement and disagreement. Where we disagree, it should not lead to a conflict. And where we agree, it should not lead to losing our identity.
I would just say, where we agree, it should also lead to action.
We need to be out there, showing the true face of Islam and not allowing the media to say who we are and what we believe.
Wonderful. We were hearing yesterday from that wonderful passage in the Quran, which is said many times in Friday sermons. Many times from Surah, the 16th Surah. God commands what? That you should do justice, that you should do good, ihsan, and that you should give your relatives their due. And who are our relatives? Our qurba. And what does qurba mean? Those who are near to us. So what is the question then? How qarib are our qurba? How close are those close?
Who is this neighbor? This neighbor mentioned by Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam many times has no color, has no cultural, geographical or linguistic identification. He is a human being.
I mean, when I learn about Christian brothers and sisters and what they believe, they believe that you have to love your neighbor, you have to help the poor and the needy, and you have to help society and do good actions. That automatically makes me love them. When they hear about me as a Muslim saying that you have to care for your neighbors, you have to care for the poor and the needy, and you have to work for the betterment of society and so forth, they will begin to love me. So already there is that commonality that binds us together, and there's reason to love one another. If we can't love each other as human beings, then these are other reasons that can help us to love one another. And if religious communities begin to love and respect each other, I think non-religious communities can be encouraged to do the same.
We start with ourselves and we look outwards, and in God's world we look right out to the horizon, and as far as we can go, all of those people are our neighbours. And we are convinced of that here. If we can get others to share in that vision, then they'll all be able to see that we're all neighbours.